to really connect with myself, I had to disconnect from everybody.
I'm super excited to introduce my very inspiring guest today, a talented actress known for her roles in Mile High, Lexx and Mr. Right.
Going grey isn't about the hair. It's actually a journey, a self-discovery journey.
A powerful voice in the pro-age movement, embracing her natural grey, comparing ourselves constantly. You know, I think when you're younger, you can't help but always feel like slightly on the back foot, always trying to impress. Your body means everything. Your youth means everything.
Obviously, there's trolls on social media, and they did. Oh, you'd look better with dyed hair. This is who I am now. I'm going to fully embrace it.
And she now motivates others to live life fully and confidently.
When I was in Japan, I befriended this lovely man. He was like a father to me, only to find out he was...
It's Georgia Zaris, everyone! Welcome to Feel It in Your Soul. I'm your host, Angelee, and this podcast is for the bold, the curious, and the ones ready to go deeper. Look, I created this podcast after decades of frustration, constantly feeling like I was chasing. But what I realized is you can create a soulful, lit up life for yourself. And it starts here. We're diving into real stories, unfiltered moments, and breakthroughs that literally change everything. If you're ready to reframe your mindset, unlock your purpose, and hear from voices rewriting the rules, you are in the right place. So look, if this resonates with you on a soul level, please subscribe, share it with someone who needs it. Your support means everything. Now let's dive in. So happy to have you on the show. I've been since I saw you, I came to a panel event and I was like, this person, this firecracker energy, and you just exuded love. Honestly, you had this, you really cared. You really so warmly met everyone. I was like, I need to have Georgia Zaris on. So Georgia, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. But when you're talking about that panel show, I remember sitting there and you try and connect with the audience. And when I locked eyes with you, I felt this warmth and connection. So that made me feel a little bit more confident to just be myself. Because it's, when people are looking at you blankly and you're getting nothing back.
I've been there. It's quite disconcerting, isn't it?
Yeah.
Is this hitting? I don't know. Oh, I'm so glad you said that. I'm so glad you said that. So, on Feel It in Your Soul, what I like to do is, first of all, just understand a little bit about Georgia growing up. What was life like for you back kind of growing up as Georgia Zaris?
Gosh, I had a great childhood. My parents were together, Greek. So there was a lot of pressure to do things how it's done back in the old days,
back
in Greece, even though we were living in Australia, and there was a kind of thing about conforming, and you go to school, you go to university, you get married to a Greek boy, and you have children, and then you look after your children's children, and then you die, right? That was it. And I didn't want that. So when I was growing up, I was a tomboy. And so instead of being in the kitchen learning the cooking skills from my mum, I was climbing trees with the boys. And then I wanted to kind of do creative things, which is also looked down upon, in my family. And that's what started it.
And how did you, coming also from a South Asian household, when you have parents that are, immigrant parents, they do want to really hold on to that part of them that feels Indian or Greek, they don't want to lose it, you know, and I totally understand that. But growing up, when you're kind of trying to also find out who you are yourself, was there kind of a little rebel in you that kind of came out, or how did you kind of deal with what's expected of you and what Georgia wanted to do?
Oh, God, yeah. I was always a rebel, I think. I think it was I must have been born a rebel because I never conformed at all. I didn't want to wear the dresses. like I said, I played with the boys, and even though I was told, you can't do that, now you're getting older, they're going to look at you a different way, I continued. I didn't listen. There was something inside that already knew that life is what you make of it. And I did it. I mean, I was sent to Japan to do my last year of school, and that was it. I was never going home. And that was my way of breaking free and just being who I wanted to be. And, I had the emotional blackmail. Did you ever have the emotional blackmail?
Oh, yes, very good at that.
It was all of that drama, that, Greek tragedy drama. And I just, I said, well, this is what I'm doing. I love you guys, and I'll always hold what you've taught me, as in the morals, which is something that we, the Greeks and the Indians, have in common. They're really strong values, foundations, but I'm going to go and do this. So, and that was it. And that was the beginning. And it's just gotten better and better, even when it was worse. Does that make sense? Like when I was in a foreign country, couldn't speak a language, didn't know what to do, who to speak to, I was like, I made this decision. I'm going to see it through. And it just got better.
And it seems like you kind of had this guiding voice, this inner guiding voice, where you were able to have, I don't know, the confidence or the belief to go, actually, I'm going to go do this. The fear of it not working out, was that a thing? Or were you just more in very explorative stage?
When I was younger, I never really had fear. Like I would just do things thinking, they'll work. They will work out. What's the worst that can happen? And I got myself into a lot of really tough situations that could have gone bad. But never in my mind did I ever think of the worst case scenario.
Yeah.
I started developing fear when I started having more. When I had a little bit of success, I was afraid to lose it. But when I had nothing to lose was when I had no fear.
It's kind of liberating, isn't it?
Yeah. So it was, So no, I mean, I didn't even know if I could share.
Okay, share. I'm
like,
intrigued.
I mean, when I was in Japan, I befriended this lovely man, and he was like a father to me, only to find out he was mafia.
No, what?
Yeah. And I only found this out a little bit later, but to me, he was just like a grandpa, like my Japanese grandpa.
And how did you get out of that? Like where?
Well, I was never in it.
Yeah.
He saw me, and this has taught me a lesson, because for me, when you meet people, we are not what we do, how much money we have, and all of that. We are just who we are, as people. And that's how I saw him. Now, if I saw him and I knew who he was and what he did, I wouldn't have approached him, because I would have been afraid. But because I didn't, and he was just interesting, and, he had this aura around him, and I just wanted to know more about him, he understood that energy. And I think from back then, I was already learning the lessons of, taking people as face value. It was, and it's that simple. And I love people, Angelee. I genuinely love people.
I get that. I totally get that. And
but not
you feel that.
Not because of, what they can do for me, or who they are, of their job title, or how much money they have, or what they can, give me. I just love people. Everyone's got some interesting stories,
So true. And I think that thing of connection, that is the kind of thing that you really realize, that's the magic, that's the thing where when you start feeling connected, truly connected to who you are internally, and every time you have a conversation, whether it's the guy in the cab or sitting down for this podcast, there's been times where I can't be present because I'm already thinking about the next thing. And that's because I'm in a real frantic state of my life.
Mm-hmm.
But when you're at a place where you can truly connect and you're not rushing to the next thing, you actually are interested in what that person has to say, you find so much joy in all the small things. And people are so interesting. They're so fascinating, you know. So I totally get that. And that's why I think when I saw you on that panel, it really shone out, because every time you spoke, you genuinely cared about how someone perceived themselves, how something could change, and I really, really felt it. So tell me a little bit about, so there you are in Japan, crazy scenario, you kind of move on, you get yourself out of there, you come to the UK, you come to, did you come to London? How did that transition over?
So, I mean, God, there were a lot of countries before that, I came to London from Dubai. So I lived in Dubai, which was amazing. It was in the 90s, so it's nothing like Dubai is now. Personally, I preferred it back then. There was one road, Sheikh Zayed Road, and that was it. And the buildings were called the White Building, the Blue Building. Like, they didn't have these, and it was beautiful. You felt the culture back then. And then anyway, so I was there, and then I moved to London, which was really different. And I had moved over with someone I was seeing from Dubai, and then we broke up, and I was alone, because the people that I had met when I first moved to London were all of his friends and his family and his environment. So when we broke up, I had to start again. But that gave me the strength to say, you know what, I'm going to go back into acting. And so I got an agent and I got an apartment, and I started, trusting myself and finding my feet and realizing I love London. I love England, because it's a tough nut to crack. I've got to say, of all the countries I've lived in, I found England really hard, because people are nice, but they're reserved. You need to prove who you are for them to let you in. And so it took a while, and I had one token English friend, and that's what we called him, my token English friend. But then when you do break that, I love it here. I love it here. I love everything. I love the weather. I love the weather. What do you love about...
I don't hear a lot of people say that I love the weather.
I'll tell you why.
Yeah.
I love the fact that England is green. It's very green. It's luscious. If it didn't rain, the amount it rains, it wouldn't be green and luscious.
Yeah.
So every time it rains, I'm thankful, because it's going to be beautiful and green out there. So that's how I look at it. And if it's grey, I like grey.
Of course. So we're actually going to move on to that in a second. But can I just ask, in this kind of, coming to London, it being a little bit cold, not just in the weather, but also maybe in how people are a bit reserved, and you're such a warm person. What advice would you give about to anyone who's kind of starting something new, and it feels like you've got to start from scratch and, kind of almost invent yourself somewhere where no one's got no understanding of who you are? What kind of advice could you give there?
Well, first of all, ask your why. Why are you doing whatever it is that you're setting your mind, and whatever you want to do? Find your why. And when you know your why, that's where the spark of that flame starts. And as you start to really work on that why, the flame gets bigger, and it will thaw everything in your path, which is the way I look at it. Like, someone can be cold, but they can't be cold for too long, because if you're warm with someone, it's going to thaw them out sooner or later. And if it doesn't, you move on.
So just keep doing you, and it will eventually it will kind of like, instead of you trying to change yourself to how somebody wants you to be who you are authentically, and at some point that will shine through.
That will shine through. I used to adapt to the environment, and then I was never happy. And it was only when I started being who I am and then adapting my environment to suit me, that's when things started happening. But when they were authentic, you know, it's all about, you know, again, it's back to that connection. You know, this year, every year I have a word that I focus on. And this year it was connection. And I initially thought, oh, it's connection. It's about reconnecting with people because I had, you know, lost touch or I was, you know, doing my normal things and I missed certain people. That wasn't even it.
What was it?
It was, I wasn't connected to me at all. And I didn't realize that until I started, you know, focusing on that word. So to really connect with myself, I had to disconnect from everybody, from everything, technology. I went on a detox. I unplugged myself. And then I sat and thought, okay, what really brings me connection? And connection, I've also realized recently, is that it's another word for love.
Yeah.
You know?
Gosh, I never thought about that.
Yeah.
But yes.
It's the same thing.
Yes.
And I've always promoted love because in the past I haven't felt loved or I didn't love. And so now everything's about love. And now whenever I think of love and connection, you can't have one without the other. You're never going to be fully connected to something if you're not feeling, you know, the feels, the love for it. And that, yeah, so so this whole thing of connection, everything, it starts with connection and it ends with connection. And if you're not connected to something, let it go. And you'll be surprised that you've got all of this energy to then be able to connect into something else.
That is such a powerful point, because I think we live in such a FOMO, you know, society. I can put my hands up, you know, where you just think, oh my gosh, so much is going on. I haven't posted, I haven't done this, I haven't done that at work. And you're literally going through the motions of life. And you think that if you took one step off that conveyor belt, that you're going to be, you know, left behind, you're not going to get this done, I'm going to lose my order, whatever it is, that we've got this fear. So being connected to that moment, that person you're talking to, it's usually like you're already thinking about the next thing. That's where so many of us are, in that next thing. Talk me through disconnecting, like even physically from, you know, digitally. Like, because I think a lot of us, right, are in that thing. It doesn't even matter if you're somebody who's creating content, even like just to watch other people. You know, sometimes you pick up your phone and you're like, whoa, what happened? I just scrolled away for, you know, 45 minutes or whatever. So tell me a little bit about how you disconnected to reconnect.
Well, last year I did a course with a guy called Stephen Kotler. And part of the course, it was called the Flow Collective. And at the beginning, they said, we need you to get off all technology. And,
how did that feel?
And I was like, well, obviously not me, because I do Instagram as a job. And so I was like, so I sent a message saying, well, obviously I'll do all of the other stuff, but I have to be able. And he said, you need to commit 100%. And I did not realize how addicted I was. And I thought I wasn't. I said, no, I choose when I go on there. Well, you don't. You don't actually choose. And I realized only after I stopped it for 6 weeks that
6 weeks?
Yeah, how I wasn't even thinking. I would just pick it up. It was like done in almost like hypnotically. It was crazy. The first week, I was making excuses of why
I
need to get back on. The withdrawal.
Oh my
I was
gosh.
even going to not continue the course, which I had paid for, so I can get back on the phone. And I then thought, okay, and what it is we don't realize that we're burnt out. And that included TV. So I used to think, if I want to rest, I'll just go and, sit in front of the TV and just watch. It didn't matter what I watched.
Yeah.
But actually, TV, the way it's made to keep us watching is it has these images like this. And that keeps our cognitive brain moving, which means it's not relaxing. So I ended up thinking I was relaxing, but my brain was burning out. And so I realized that I had burnout. And it was only when I disconnected, and even now, I have my phone on Do Not Disturb. My husband and my daughter, the only people who can get a hold of me anytime. I choose now when I do my emails. I choose when I go and look at my messages. And then I give myself blocks of time to do things. And that's helped me. But technology's sneaky. It has a way of hooking you, especially, social media. They have these things and you look at one thing and then the algorithm's like, she likes it. So then they give you more of that.
I know.
And you're like, okay, just a little bit more. And before you know it, 2 hours later and, you're looking at, dog farting videos. I don't know. Do you know?
So true. You sometimes end up on something so random and you go, how did I end up here? But what we kind of forget, and I think that's why it's so interesting to share this, because it's not about giving ourselves a hard time, right? Because actually this stuff is designed. It is like, it's almost like we're having a digital drug, right, at our fingertips anytime we want. And we don't realize it, but it is made to keep us on there, right? So sometimes we have to do something that kind of like intentional and maybe might feel a bit drastic, because I'm sure like if you said to me, you're not going to have your phone for 6 weeks, it would make me feel almost a little bit like, even saying it makes me feel a bit uncomfortable. Yeah. But it's almost like to do that is how we're going to reset and almost control the beast. It's like you can still use it. You're still going to use it for the things that you want to do, but perhaps that you can gain that control back rather than it being.
So you choose.
And even with your emails and even with your time. Yeah. Need to get you some food. But yeah, even with the emails or everything has got us. And I mean, even the word notifications popping up, there are things that you can do to just put things on silent. Have a moment that you're going to go through your WhatsApp. I find WhatsApp can be quite anxiety kind of.
Why?
Like, because I changed it now because I've stopped it from being something that I've changed the notifications that happen, but also the whole blue tick thing, right? Oh my gosh, now someone's seen that you've seen the message and you haven't got back to them, but you're so busy and you need to think about it before you reply back, that actually you've almost got to put in the filters that work for your life. If you feel like something's giving you anxiety, right, can you turn off a notification or put it to a situation where you can't see when they're on or when you're on? Otherwise you start being run by the things that are meant to here to enhance our life. It starts running our life. And there's so many things. People get so much anxiety about some of the kind of modern day things that we have, things beeping and feeling like you've got to answer straight away. Well, you don't need to answer straight away.
No, you don't.
When did we need to be on call straight away?
Well, that's the thing. If you're always on,
you
then wonder why at the end of the day you're stressed. And it was an interesting scenario. So after I think it was 2 weeks in of my detox, my digital detox, and I had met a friend for lunch, and I sat there fully present with her, and she was constantly checking her phone and she wasn't there, and I just thought, oh my God, that was me before. And the thing is, her phone didn't ring. Her phone didn't, but it was like, because it was there, it was like, well, what if I didn't see something? What if? And I just thought, in that 1 hour, we only spent an hour together. She left mentally exhausted and I was calm as. And the other thing I noticed was that I got more done. I returned calls. I replied to messages, but I was fully present when I replied because I chose to look at them and fully engage with them. And that was the huge difference. And now, like, I don't have a picture on my phone, it's black. My phone is away from me, so I don't even have it there to even, you know, kind of look at it like that. And it's changed. I do get things done. Oh, I'm saying that, my emails have gone crazy. But I've been away for 2 months, so now I'm trying to play catch up. But I do these little blocks. I learned that in the course.
Yeah.
And then for that time, an hour and a half, I focus on just that, whatever I can get done, and then I close that and then move on to the next thing. And there was another thing that really helped me. It's called wall staring. Have you ever heard of it?
No.
Yeah. So literally to calm our minds, you just sit and stare at a blank wall. Because you're focusing on something.
I have never heard this.
Yeah, wall staring. It's very popular in Silicon Valley. And, you know, in the course, I had learned about how the digital detox, they do it a lot in Silicon Valley. And so you're kind of like the guys that set up all of this stuff.
Yeah, there's something to be said about
There's
that.
something.
There is definitely. And I've got, wall staring, literally just stare at the wall.
You just sit
Nothing
and stare
else.
at the wall. That's it. That's it. It is incredible. At first I thought this looks, I feel like I'm being put, you know, in the naughty corner. All I need is a dunce cap. But it really calms your mind. It really calms your mind.
And I think also probably an element of being with yourself. Because you're not, there's always something that you're focusing on, right? If it's just a wall, it's like, then you can start actually being just with your, like the connection with your inner self.
Yeah.
And there is no amount of money that you need to do that one. So you can just pull that out the bag anywhere. You literally can go and stare at a wall. Okay, I'm going to try that.
Just try it for 5 minutes. Put a timer on and you just stare at the wall.
And now we've been talking about mobile phones so much.
Yeah.
And I noticed that my mobile phone is here on the side. I'm moving this, by the way. Let's just.
And I did notice that you kept kind of looking
I
at.
usually leave it, and I was like, oh, I sat down with it, and it just. And I was like, oh my gosh. So we have just, if you're listening to this,
proof.
We have just thrown the mobile phone, flung it to the side. Okay, I feel like I'm having a little therapy session here. So. I want to talk a little bit about, because I do want to get into, obviously, Georgia Goes Grey and how that all started for you. Just before that, because I know you've obviously done amazing in your acting career. In terms of like the notion of being on screen, beauty, how was that being kind of an actress where obviously aesthetically how you show up is a big thing? Did that have any impact on you when you did decide to go grey? Yeah.
Huge.
So tell me a little bit about what was it like for you to be an actress, and obviously your looks being so important and how you're perceived.
Yeah. So acting was the greatest lesson for me, but it was also the industry that gave me most of my insecurities, because, being told. Waiting for other people's validation of you, and going in and not being told you're not good enough, you're not pretty enough, your hair's not long enough, you're not tall enough, you're not enough. Unless you know who you are, and I didn't then. I did acting because I loved it, but how do I put it? I loved it, but I didn't appreciate it for what it actually was. And I was a jobbing actress. I wasn't like Z-list, but that doesn't matter. The fact is that I wish I knew myself a little better, because then I wouldn't have been so hard on myself.
Which is actually quite hard to do, in all fairness, when your vocation is, part and parcel of it is receiving feedback and, constantly. You know, you don't go into a job and people are giving you feedback on how you look generally, you know, or, you know, that, you know, it's on your outward experience of you, you know, no one's actually delving into who really Georgia is. So the whole exterior of you becomes the most important thing about you when there's so much more to Georgia, right?
Yeah.
So tell me a little bit about that point where you got to lockdown, as I've obviously done my research and just like looked at that. You got to lockdown and all the hairdressers are shut.
You don't even
and, you know, you live
stress.
this life of maintaining yourself and looking great and every time looking polished and poised. And now you can't get out to, you know, do your hair. Tell me about that moment.
Well, I used to also do a lot of commercials, and I used to do hair commercials. And so I knew the importance of actually going to a salon to have your hair coloured, because, you know, the stuff that you buy in the supermarket, it can be drying for your hair, especially mine, because I have frizzy, quite dry hair anyway. So when lockdown was, and I was supposed to go just before lockdown, and I had cancelled the appointment to push it, not realising we were going to go into lockdown. So I remember calling my hairdresser saying, look, just send me all the stuff and then we'll do a FaceTime and you show me how to mix it and I'll put it in. And he was like, it's not that easy. Like, you know, it's not as easy as you think. And I said, I don't care. And he said, no. And I just thought, well, what am I going to do? And during lockdown, at the beginning, we had a reunion for Dream Team, a TV show that I was in. And my hair was like, you know, that grey. And I had made the decision then, but I was still not wanting the fans of Dream Team to see that side of me. So I was sitting there colouring in the hair, and it was just here, like, you know, with that powder, and it was dry. And I mean, just even touching it, I mean, I would touch it, just do this, and it was on my hands. And I thought, God, now I'm going to put it on my face, and they're going to think who knew? But I did that. And then I just thought, this is crazy. Why am I hiding this? How old was I? Like, it was over 50 by this stage. And this is who I am now. And I need to fully embrace it or start colouring it. And so
you had that moment where you literally spoke to yourself.
Oh,
and
always.
Went, Georgia.
I always speak to myself. I always sit and I pose myself the questions, you know, the hard questions.
So important, yeah.
That, you know, sometimes your friends don't say to you. I would sit with me. I mean, my husband thinks I'm a little crazy because I sit outside and I have conversations with myself out loud so I can hear them, you know? Because sometimes when they're just a thought,
it's kind of hazy in there.
So, and I would have these conversations and I would always get the answer. And that's why I started documenting it on Instagram. I mean, I just literally started an account. I think my original name was Georgia Goes Crazy or something. I don't even know what the name was. It was a random name that I picked, and I just started documenting for myself. And then I was looking for other grey-haired women who were going through the same transition. And then it just started picking up because obviously a lot of women chose that time or it was chosen for them that time to go grey. And then a community formed. But then what happened was I started learning about myself and what I was holding on to that didn't serve me anymore, and what I needed to learn about myself to accept myself. So you hear this a lot with grey-haired women who say that going grey isn't about the hair. It's actually a journey, a self-discovery journey. And it was. God, boy, was it. You know, and there were days when I was like, this is crazy. And, you know, if I go back to acting, they're going to want me to dye my hair. And, you know, if I go back to acting, it was about what other people or how other people were going to see me. And then I thought, no, this is who I am now. I'm going to fully embrace it. If people want to say something bad, which obviously there's trolls on social media, and they did. Oh, you'd look better with dyed hair. And why are you giving up? And I was like, I'm not giving up. I'm just getting started.
There's so much to unpack there. First of all, when you get negative comments like that, and giving up, you look better with the dark hair, how do you process that so that you don't get stuck there?
It's again finding your why. When I realized why I was doing it and the excitement that it gave me and the energy that it gave me, it didn't matter what anybody else said. I mean, I had a really dear friend. He said to me, I get what you're doing, but you looked better with when you dyed your hair. And I said, yeah, but I feel better now that I've let my greys go. And what's more important, that I look better to you or that I feel better on the inside? And he said, fair point. And by the way, he's grey. And that's where the whole pro-aging thing came in. I mean, I don't like using the word pro-aging because we're all aging. So you can either accept it or you're going to have a very difficult life. So pro-aging for me is just acceptance. And we're showing up because, society, certain people, certain trolls want us to sort of disappear and go and hide. Pro-aging is about every moment in your life is important and should be celebrated, and you should be out there doing it in full view of everybody without harming anyone. Do you know? Because there are some people that are like, well, I'm natural and I'm all natural and that gets on my nerves sometimes because I'm like, I'm not better than you because I chose and I've discovered myself. And you haven't because you haven't dyed your hair. There's no, because every story is personal. However, I'm entitled to be here as much as you're entitled to be here at whatever age I am. And that for me is pro-aging.
That's so interesting. I think, as a woman as well, we are kind of fed. And I think social media, one of the good sides of social media is, had we not had social media, getting to this phase, I don't know how long it would have taken. It's because, people actually go, I'm taking my power back. And I can almost, not almost, but I can actually create doing what I want, whether it's growing grey or whatever thing that you want to do with grace, and actually go, I still feel beautiful. I am living my life fully, and other people can look at that and go, wow. Whereas before, there was nothing to hold up and go, someone's doing that, and that's really aspirational. You'd just go, you'd see like actresses, and then now all of a sudden they're getting older roles, and they kind of almost start to kind of like they phase them out. That would be the way that a lot of people would feel about age, once you've hit a certain thing. Or whereas I feel, because actually I think social media has got a massive part to play, that people are going, no, I'm literally just getting into my groove right now. What are you talking about? Tell me a little bit about that whole thing of even kind of like feeling beautiful and feeling sexy, because that is an inner thing, right? Where it's always felt like it's an outer thing. It's getting my hair done, it's getting my nails done, it's going to the gym, it's everything, all of that. I think what kind of like something like going grey does is saying, I feel all those things, but from inside, I don't need that. I don't need it to be brown, grey, yellow for me to go, I feel beautiful in myself. What kind of journey did you need to go on in terms of when you were kind of struggling with, I'm doing this and holding on to that, and then going, am I going to lose this essence of me feeling beautiful and me feeling sexy and me feeling all those things? Because something that really comes through on your page and everything you put out is how vivacious and full of life, and you're not kind of dulling out with grey. You're coming into colour, even more so. So tell me like how that played out for you.
Well, it's all about taking the journey not out but within. So me going grey was it got me to love my hair again, in terms of, you know, I would style it. I would spend time on styling it. So, but that was an inside thing. Even when it was all different colours, you know,
when the roots are coming, that must have been the difficult
that was
stage.
Going a different colour, because it was balayage, and this was white, and then there was you know, whatever it was all crazy. But I was starting to love it. The same with my body. You know, I would dress to look sexy for, you know, to get attention before. And now I'll wear something so I can feel sexy. But I feel sexy because I'm starting to love bits of my body that I didn't before. You know, I had implants for 26 years. And I'm not going to lie, I still miss them. I miss them because I took them out because there was this whole BII thing at the time trending. And I thought, oh, maybe I have it. I mean, they've been in the same breasts have been in there for 26 years. So it's time to take them out anyway. And I used to get them checked regularly every year. And they said there's nothing wrong with them. But I thought, what if? So I took them out, and I didn't like my body. I didn't like the way my body looked. And some days I still don't. I miss them. I liked the way they looked, not for somebody else. At the beginning, when I first got them done, yes, I would wear the low-cut things and show them off, and I was much younger. But then it got to a stage where I mainly hid them. And then, you know, there were certain things I couldn't even do up because... But anyway, so it was another lesson on saying, you know, I'm not sexy because I have implants. I'm not sexy because I'm, you know, this shape. I'm sexy because I feel it on the inside. And only I can feel that. You know, my husband, he can tell me that he thinks I'm sexy, but if I don't feel it, it's all about, I put it like this. If we can connect our mind to our body and they work together, that is how you're going to feel sexy. Because it doesn't matter how sexy you look on the outside and aesthetically, if your head up here is saying to you, oh, look at those cellulite thighs, there is no way you are ever going to feel it. Does that make sense?
That does make sense. And how do you... like, if we could even dissect that a little bit, I'm just thinking about, you know, if you're listening to this podcast and you're in maybe a transitional stage, or you're feeling like, hey, you know, because we'll all look back at pictures and we're like, gosh, I looked amazing there. You know, the lighting was great. The angle was great. You're like, oh, I don't look quite, you know, and you have those moments. What can you do in terms of self-talk, or is there some kind of ritual that you do? Is there something that you do? Because your mind wanders. You have them, you know, your mind is a crazy thing where, you know, you're feeling great, and next thing you know, you're thinking about something. You looked at a picture where you look gorgeous, and you're just like, oh, you know what? Don't look as good as I used to, or whatever. What can you do to kind of stop yourself from spiraling into that, to take yourself out and go, hang on a second, check. Quick pause. If this conversation is lighting up something in you, and I'm sure it is, do not keep it to yourself. Please, please, please subscribe to the channel. It really does help. Drop us a review, share it with somebody who needs it. Oh, and if you don't know, we're also on Apple and Spotify too. It really helps us to get more soulful guests and reach more hearts and minds. Okay, now back to the episode.
I do two things. There's a thing that I talk about a lot, and that is every morning before I hop in the shower, I'm fully naked. I look at myself in a mirror and I find 3 things that I love about myself in that moment. Just 3 things. And they can't be the same 3 things, right? So this morning...
What was yours this morning?
Well, I don't know what this muscle's called, but I can't show you, but there's this muscle that's here. Runners have it. It just bulges a tiny bit here. It was popping this morning, and I just looked and I went, don't know what you're called, but I love you today. I love that today. I like the bone this bone this morning. So it's all different things. And this is what happens. The first thing normally, we look at ourselves in the mirror and you're like, oh, look at the dark circles today. Oh, look at we look at our faults. But when we start to look at the good things that we have, the more we do it, the less we see the bad things.
So true.
Right? They're always going to be there. There's going to be things we do not like about ourselves, but we don't have to focus on that. And so that is one powerful ritual that I do. The other thing is when I'm putting like body cream, it's because it's normally about the body, isn't it? I'm putting body cream on or face cream. The thing that is, that's bothering me that day, like for me, I have like this, this little pocket of fat here. And so I give it extra attention. And then I talk to it and give it the love and say, you know what? And then remind it of all the good things. Like, you're there. I'm able to do things with my knees. So why do I hate you?
Yeah.
Thank you. And the more you do that, the less you then look at it as a negative.
And so true.
Yeah.
That is such a good takeaway. I actually today, I have this journal and it gives you a prompt. Today's prompt was, what do you have today that you used to want to have, but you have it today? And I was like...
And what was yours?
I started writing like lines and lines, like so many things that finding love in my life that I just... At one point in my life, I was like, I'm not sure I'm going to find love in my life. Like I started to feel like not sure if it exists for me,
But
I remember
why?
feeling so lost with that. I think coming out of a very kind of difficult, abusive marriage. And then when I kind of was like, I started my business and I was all about being an entrepreneur. I very much took on my masculine energy, and that is where I kind of lived. And I had 2 young kids at the time. And for me, I think even hearing, I'd hear like my dad go, oh my God, you're going to be nearly 40. I mean, it's going to be very tough for you. And he didn't mean it bad, but you know what they're like. They just say what comes straight. Yeah. There's no filter. And he's like, it's going to, and even like you'd have sometimes friends going, I think you should try and find someone who's got kids because then they'll have, like everyone's trying to go, in a
you
way,
have to settle.
It's going to be difficult for you. You need to like maybe look at someone who's maybe a bit older, who's got kids, but maybe they've left that. And you're just like so bombarded that you're almost feeling like it's an arrangement. It's not like finding love, but in my heart, it's like, I really want to find, and I kind of, what I'd said to myself was, if I don't find that thing that really is that true connection, I'd rather be alone. So I'd kind of made that mind up. So I wrote that down. We had a baby. So we've got this blended family. 3 years ago, I just got married, had the most like magical weekend of my life. I started a podcast that was in my head, that it's actually happening. We're playing out one of the things that was like a vision in my head. There's so many things. And I just sat there and I went, my gosh, when you just focus on all the things that you have got, that you once wanted, just stops you from going, oh, that didn't happen, that arrived late, I was waiting for this. You just like let it all go, because it's that thing of gratitude, really, isn't it? It's that practice of gratitude.
Yeah.
But I think that's a great thing, especially about your body, especially for women, where comparing ourselves constantly. I think when you're younger, you can't help but always feel like slightly on the back foot, always trying to impress. Your body means everything. Your youth means everything. And so once you get to a stage where you can start looking at yourself and loving, like you said, your ankles, and you have very beautiful ankles, by the way, that you start to actually notice, oh my gosh, look how much I have got.
Yeah.
I have got a lot, and taking that kind of, almost criticizing voice, kind of making that's been a big game changer for me, because I think I had a very critical voice in my head. It was a cross between being frantic and critical. Like that's what my voice narrator of my life was. No wonder I was in fight or flight all the time, but that was my narrator. Whereas now, You know, just having those moments where you can slowly talk to yourself, where you can give yourself love, you know, even certain things like, you know, when I'm getting ready for a podcast and when you come and I'm like, I love to feel that we've got a moment to connect. Like all of this, we're doing it because we enjoy it, right?
Yeah.
Like there's no kind of like, if this doesn't happen right, like, you know, we're
Yeah.
going to be out. It's like when you start to take away all that stuff that you are making it mean so much, life and death, and actually nothing is actually life and death apart from life or death. So if it's not, don't give it all of that, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's so like living in that.
Exactly. Not having any expectations, but living in it fully, which I try to explain to like my daughter who's 16, and she doesn't get it because she says, you know, when are you going to act your age? And I was like, because she says, you get too excited when you do anything. And I said, because every time I do something, it's new. So I've got to look at it with new eyes, like it's the first time. I mean, today you should have seen me get off the train. I got off the train and I was walking around. I was like, wow, because I've never been to this area before. And I could either just look at my phone to get here.
By the way, it sounds like she's come somewhere exotic. We're in Finchley, North London, by the way.
No, but, you know, it doesn't matter. It doesn't
Yeah.
matter what it is or where it is. It's just if you look at it with new eyes, that excitement is going to bring connection. It's going to bring love again, back to the connection and love. And it's going to bring a joy. It's going to bring an energy. So, yeah, everything for me. Whereas, drinking that cup of coffee, you know, walking in here, seeing you, even though we've met once before, it's like it's new, it's exciting, it's whatever. And I'm not saying I don't have negative things going on at the moment, but you know what? I'll deal with them when the time is right. Right now, I'm here, and that's exciting for me. That gives me energy. Doesn't matter how tired or whether I've slept or didn't sleep. That was yesterday.
So true.
Yeah.
And I'm really waking up to this fact that energy is the life force of your whole existence. You know, good energy, you can feel that moment where something just changed and then it all just like, you know, you hit your pinky toe and then you walked out and that flow of energy, when you are in it, you realize how that actually opens up so much to you. So actually energy is a huge thing. How do you keep your energy at that kind of, because you're very high vibrational. Have you always been, that how you've
I have. I've always had a lot of energy, so I don't know, but my energy was everywhere before, and now I know how to keep it contained, if that makes any sense. But again, it comes from the inside. It comes from love. It comes from connection. So that is the spark, and everything else. So I wake up and I am so grateful that I woke up, and and I'm safe. I'm in a warm home. I have love around me, snoring as well, but love around. So even the snoring is like, yes, he's alive.
Yeah.
Do you know? So everything you can turn into a negative or positive. So everything. I feed off, I feed off everything and I'm like a little conductor of like energy, and that gets me through. And I get tired early. I like to go to bed quite early, like around 9-10. But if my friend called and said, right, I need you, I need you to go out or whatever, I could go out all night, because it's
it fuels you,
it
doesn't
fuels
it?
me.
It
And
absolutely
that
does.
has happened when my friend, was down, and I'm like, okay, I've got to get dressed. And the last thing I want to do when I'm in my bed watching my Korean dramas is getting dressed to go. Because I'm so tired, but I'm like that, because it's the love for the friend who needs me. It's the love of, I'm going to help another person and I'm needed. That gives you energy. So, don't underestimate the power of feeling people's energy, or the freedom of giving. If I give you energy, it's not that I'm going to be depleted. If I give you energy and you respond, you're going to give me extra energy.
That's so, and in fact, that's an important point, because there has been times, because I've always been quite high energy as well, and there has been times that I felt quite very depleted. And I think the change was when you start to understand that it is like it goes both ways. When you kind of in that way of just giving it out like everywhere, you know, it can leave you feeling exhausted. But once you start to get quite almost like protective, you know, of where do I spend my time? Who are the friends around me? You know, what do I consume mentally, podcasts, or what do I watch? Or what kind of conversations am I having? Like, is it upbuilding, or is it like, I don't know, a little bitch about so-and-so on the side or whatever? Or, you know, those are the things that, and you look at those little nuances, you know, that is the thing that helps you feel fueled. My cup is running over, or I don't have enough to give. I'm absolutely exhausted. Did you have to go through a transition of kind of how do I protect my energy? And was there kind of like, or have you, no,
100%. Again, it goes back to my why. You know, there was a time in my life where I would be out and about and being around people who didn't deserve my presence. But I felt like I had to go for whatever reason to try and please others. And so when you're giving your time and energy to people who don't appreciate it, value it, and almost suck it from you, you're going to go home depleted. But if you are around, and you can feel that, you know, we all know. We've got to learn to trust ourselves to feel the people that deserve our presence and our energy. You're going to get so much more back. And so I went through that period, and I would come home and I would be depleted. I would be depressed. I would cry. I would think, why don't they like me? Why don't they, you know, whatever. I've given everything. I gave them so much. You know, that whole scenario in your head.
Yeah.
And until that point, you go, I can't do this anymore. For me, that point was when I got cancer. I couldn't physically give. And I realized the people who came to see me or who gave me energy when I needed it most, they were the people that I was going to focus on going forward. Because I realized that, you know, I could die. Are these the people I want to be around? Or are these the people I want to be around? And that's when I realized the difference. And that was it. You know, there are soul suckers and there are soul enhancers.
Yeah,
and I'm going to, you know, stick to the people who you are going to vibrate at a higher frequency. You know that feeling when you're around people and you go home and you're like...
just lifted, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's so important. I think we know, you know, sometimes like we're always looking for someone to give us an answer. And what I even say, even about this podcast, is when we share this kind of lived experience, we'll be thinking about our own thing, going, hang on a second, that person does make me feel so uncomfortable, or completely, even it can be a family member that you're like, every time I'm with them, I'm so exhausted. That there comes a point, and for you, you know, it was something as big as finding out, you know, you're dealing with a illness, with cancer, that you were like, hang on a second, in my life now, I now need to be really restrictive on what I allow in and what I give out. In that moment of finding out, you know, news like that, where did your mind go in terms of how you were going to deal with this?
Well, it was a shock, a huge shock. It was like I'm remembering the day, because I remember when we thought it was a cyst, and so I was really excited to go and see my gynecologist to say, hey, when am I having the operation? Because I love general anesthetic. And when she said, I need you to sit down, and I went on my own, because it was just, I thought I was just going so she can give me a date to have this cyst removed. And then when she told me to sit down, your life flashes in front of you. And I mean, my first thought was, what am I going to say to my daughter more than anything else? Because I want to see her grow up and whatever. So my case was a little different because we didn't know what it was at first. So I had my initial operation and they thought it was something else. And because the cancer that I had was rare and they've never had a case where I had it before. So he was like, we don't know what it is. And then, so there was all of that. So there was a lot of limbo. But never once did I think I'm going to die. I was like, I'm going to give it my best shot. But when you're fighting, when you're in that fighting phase, you don't think of the end result. You think of just fighting that little battle. You don't think of fighting the war.
Yeah.
And that taught me about being present. So all I could think about was how I'm going to get through today. And if I can get through today, I'll worry about tomorrow. And that, I think also, that was the other gift of cancer. It got me to only focus on what's important in life, because life is precious. It got me to focus on this present moment. And it got me to focus on, being grateful. Every day I wake up and I'm alive, I'm grateful. And the other thing with cancer is, there's always that chance. Will it come back? Which is fear-based, right? And so I'm trying every day to do something that takes me out of my comfort zone to have less fear. Because the more I conquer certain fears, the less fear as one big, bad word will affect me. So if it comes back, we'll deal with it then. But for today, I'm healthy. And so I do whatever I can. At that panel, we talked about, longevity.
Yes.
And what is longevity to you, right? Like, to me, longevity is living in the moment fully, because we don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. And I know, because, when I was given the diagnosis, I'm like, well, I could live or die. And so that's all. This is all we have. So we need to do the best we can for ourselves today, for our future selves tomorrow, if we are to have a future. We don't know.
I think, and thank you for sharing that. I do think that we can sometimes live in a state of, we don't want to think about things like death and illness or any of that stuff. So sometimes we can live a life, and I know this personally myself, that you almost can be in a trance-like state about your life. You don't even think about the fact that this life is a gift, or you're going through the motions. And many people will never want to actually look at their mortality, right? Because the truth is, whether you've got a diagnosis or you walk out on the street, or nothing for us is granted. Tomorrow is not granted to any of us. But when you're given something like an illness, where you're like, okay, I can work through this. It's a day by day thing. That thing of almost shining a light on the fact that we are all have got this inevitability around the corner makes us live in what we have right now more so. Because so many of us, and I know I could say I've probably lived a good part of my adult life either worrying about kind of the future, or anxious about the future, or so deeply distraught about my past, this has happened, I haven't worked this out, I haven't got this done, by all of that that I could not even live in the moment. I spoke to this lovely lady called Sarah Al-Madani. I don't know if you follow her, but she's fantastic. And I said, what's your biggest inspiration? And she was like, death. And I was like, whoa, I've never heard anyone say that. She was like, no, honestly, because until you realize that we are all here for a certain amount of time, but we act like it's just nowhere. It's like we're going to be here forever. And it's like, actually, if you understand that, you will never, ever live life kind of like in this second kind of phase of like, you know, almost letting life pass you by. Every morning is a moment for real gratitude, you know, like you wouldn't be picking faults in yourself if you realized, wow, this is like a functioning body that does all of this for me. So I think there's something really powerful in sharing that story of how, you know, sometimes some things happen to us, but they also bring a gift.
Oh, always
Isn't
bring a
it?
gift. Whenever something bad happens, I now try to always find the good in that, you know.
What was that learning? What was that gift?
What is it that I'm trying to be taught? Because everything is a lesson. I mean, that is what my account is about. It's about just sharing the grey areas, the lessons in life. And everything is a lesson. You know, missing a train is a lesson. You know, every little thing. But we have to be awake enough to see it. And you know, I lived in a daydream as well. I mean, some of the stuff that I have done was so exciting in my life, but if you ask me, I can tell you what they were, but I can't tell you that I was fully present in them. I didn't take what really they meant. So and I was like, I don't want to do that for however long I've got left. I don't want to do that. You know, I'm a Buddhist, and I was with my teacher, and he said this funny story. He said to me, you know, he said, you Westerners, you celebrate your birthdays with this hope, and he said, but in actual fact, you're decaying. And I'm looking at him, and when he was like, you're decaying, I'm like, you're decaying too. And he said, I'm
decaying well, thank you very much.
Yeah, I don't know, but I'm not decaying, I'm getting better. And what he said is, you know, the fear of death stops us from living. And he said, if you realize that it's called the law of impermanence, if you realize that nothing in this world is permanent, you stop fearing death. And I was like, yeah, I am decaying, but so that makes it all the more precious what I have right now, because tomorrow it might be gone. And that is what he
and I think that is so powerful in that whole thing of being present. And I think we have such busy lives that being present can be quite difficult.
Yeah,
you know, because it's always either what's happening or what's happened. Rarely do we have what is happening right now.
Yeah.
And whilst you were saying that, I was just thinking when I said to you about, you know, what I wrote down about what I have that I wanted once. You know, when I was planning my wedding, this one thing came up in my head that was like, I want to be fully present. You know, my first time getting married, I had this big Indian wedding. I had probably 800 people at my wedding. And it was an ordeal. It was an ordeal, and I can't even actually it's almost like a haze,
right?
You know, and that's for so many reasons of just where I was in my life, what I was going through. But when I looked at my wedding, I remember when I saw Giuseppe, and when we got married and we went around the back and we were like preparing to come out, and I just looked at him and I was like, let's be present for every single minute of today. We're going to eat all that pasta. We're going to drink the wine. Every conversation's going to be important. We're not going to be thinking, I need to go speak to her. And no, whoever we're speaking to right then is the most important person. And honestly, it changed everything. It felt like we were truly living that moment of our wedding, which many people, when they talk about, you know, your wedding ends up becomes a production, and you're there and you didn't quite enjoy all the stuff, or you didn't eat all day and all those things. That everything we do, if we can bring that element of being present, whether it's, you know, you've got my 3-year-old's birthday party, you know, and I've had birthday parties for the kids where I've been so frantic about getting it perfect and baking the cake and everyone going, how amazing the decorations look and all this stuff, that you just didn't even enjoy it. You know, how many parties have you been to and the person hosting it looks like the least happiest? But when you see the person who's hosting it looking the happiest, it makes everyone feel good, doesn't it?
100%.
When you go to a dinner party and the person and they are enjoying it and loving
Yeah.
it, doesn't it make you feel relaxed and you love it?
You know, the host determines the mood, right? You mentioned kids' birthdays.
Yeah.
In the past, when my daughter was young, I was always, whenever I would go accompany her to parties, I didn't hang out with the adults. I got involved with the kids. And the mums used to say, oh, Georgia's crazy. And it wasn't that I was crazy. It was that children live in the moment. Adults don't. Somehow we've learnt to, focus on the past or look into the future. And it didn't feel right. So I used to go and play the games with the kids. I would leave there having the best time because of being present. So look at the way children enjoy stuff and if you want to learn about living in the present, look at a toddler.
It's so true, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, they could be looking at fluff on the carpet like it is gold.
I've got a 3-year-old and I'm so relating to that, but it's so true, isn't it?
Yeah.
It is so true. Be like a toddler.
Be like a toddler. Have that inquisitive, because we kind of go, yeah, I know this is a sofa. I've sat on sofas, but I've never sat on this sofa before. Oh my God. So everything in our lives, doesn't matter how old we are, it can be new and exciting. It's up to us to make it that way. But it's not only to think, oh yeah, I'm going to think of it. Oh, this is a new sofa and it's exciting. You've got to feel it. Feel it. We're afraid to touch. We're afraid. I'm doing fascia work to go onto a thing about, if you're in pain and you're like, at the moment, I've got pain here. And so you go, you don't touch it because there's pain. But if how am I going to know where the pain is unless I put my hands in and feel where the pain is? And guess what? The pain is subsiding, but I have to go in. And that's with everything in life. You want to know about something, fully commit in the present and just really go into it. Don't be afraid. People are now afraid. Oh, don't talk about that to that person because it might trigger them. Why does it trigger you? Let's talk about that. And, so it's all of that. It's don't be afraid. Trust. And again, that comes from love and connection. Oh, I wish there was a song.
That. I feel like that is the start of a song. I love that. I absolutely love that because when we, like you said, you'll see like it, even, I don't know, you've put a crank in your neck or the very point of you like getting all stiff, right? And it's like, now I can't move.
Yeah.
It just makes it completely worse. But if you can just lean into that pain, lean into what is it? Which point is it actually that it's feeling like that? And take that metaphor into every single element. That will open up so much more for you.
But you'll find that pain in the neck is actually maybe not your neck. It's actually like, oh, okay, if I have a pain here and I'm like, oh, I must have slept wrong. No, if I go into it and I really think about it, do you know what it is? Is I've been sitting in front of a computer all day. That pain is actually not the neck, really. Oh, look, the pain actually comes from here. You only know this if you learn to communicate your mind and your body. And you'll find that some physical pain is actually emotional as well. But that's a whole other topic.
Oh, we'll have to come back in for that one. That's another, because that is fascinating. As I just went on a healing retreat in Zanzibar, weirdly enough, 4 weeks before my wedding. Crazy. And I found out about it and I thought, this is wrong timing. It's 4 weeks before the wedding. There's absolutely no way I can go.
Yeah.
And when you're just talking yourself out of stuff and you go, hang on a second, if you want to go, you can go. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like you can do what you want. Like, You know, if you've got to a stage where you can make choices in your life, like make those choices, you know, because there was probably stages where I couldn't have made a choice like that, right? So I was like, hang on a second. Then I was like, no, Giuseppe's going to say no. What's this ridiculous thing to do? But something was calling me, and I spoke to him and he said, do you think it'd be good for us? I was like, yeah, I'd like to do it with you. And we went on this healing retreat, and I thought I dealt with a lot of stuff. And, you know, there's certain things where those pain points have become, you know, that crank in the neck or that constant, like, you know, side of the stomach pain point, which is always when you go, it's nothing, you know, you get told it's this or that. And I was like, oh my God, I was storing actual kind of trauma, things that I haven't dealt with in that one point. I mean, for me, I know my throat has always been one of those points for me, a very weak point. I had my tonsils taken out. I had loads of things. When I get ill, the first thing I feel it is in my throat. And when I started to uncover why that is, I'd never thought about it like that. And that is another, we will come back to that conversation for sure.
This whole, but that again, is that
but it goes body to and your mind and your soul connecting.
If they learn to communicate, the things that, you know, your body can tell your mind or your mind can tell your body, but equally your mind can deceive your body and your body can deceive your, you know, your mind as well. So when you learn for these two to listen to each other, you connect, and then you kind of can make then balanced choices. You know, I used to always look for answers outside of myself. So, I've got a sore neck. I'm going to go to the physio. They'll fix it. You know, it was always, you know, outsourcing everybody else. But until I chose to fix things myself, obviously, if there's a problem, a physio is amazing. But I need to understand me.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to understand me if I'm not listening. So it's all, you know.
That is such a powerful topic. And I think the more that we can also just, you know, when you said that there's a theme that's running through this, you know, sit with yourself, stare at that wall, stop, feel that pain. Where is it coming from? Whether it's emotional, whether it's a physical pain, and give yourself that much credit to go, hang on a second, there is a dialogue between me and the inner me. I can work, you know, if there's a question, like you said, saying it out loud, usually you're presented back with the answer. It's crazy, but it works, right? It does. So there is a lot to be said about building that confidence of your inner voice, for sure. And I think like something that's really rung true, like, you know, when I'm kind of listening to this conversation, this dialogue that you've been able to create with your inner self, and I haven't even touched upon your spiritual side, which I can completely feel, but it is allowing yourself to go, hang on a second, because we've always thought everyone's got the answers for us. You know, it's in this relationship, it's me doing this course, it's me getting this job, it's me. And the minute we just slow that down and, you know, the check in with yourself in the morning, how am I feeling? They're looking at yourself and finding the three things that I find beautiful about myself, or I'm really grateful for, or that time when you're feeling unease, sit with it.
Yeah.
Sit with it and just maybe try that little dialogue, you know. You may feel crazy, but just ask yourself.
Well, if you know, it's almost like you're having a conversation with your best friend.
Yeah.
Like, you know, if I could look at myself as another person or as my best friend, what advice would I give her? Well,
yeah,
you know, you can have that. And, you know, if you want, you can change voices. Like I am, this is the voice I talk to myself in. And I answer, oh, yeah, bah. And, you know, so you can change voices. You can do whatever you want. Make it your own. But learn to trust yourself. And then, you know, the answer might be, oh, you know what? You got to, you know, there is a little bit of a problem. You may need to see that physio. Oh, okay, I got that. And you go. But don't make that your first thing. Don't make, I'm going to be happy when I find love. I'm going to be happy when I have, you know, hundreds of thousands of millions, whatever, of followers. I'll be happy when I've lost weight. I'll be happy when. No. Start with happy, and whatever is meant for you will happen.
Yeah.
You know?
Don't be so fixated on the outcome.
Yeah.
That's so powerful. I think there's just so much there. There really is so much there, because someone once said to me, if the happiness that you're looking for has a number ending in it, it's when I've got this, or that's not it. Rewind back, because those things that have a numbers and metrics attached to it is not it. And I was like, wow, actually most of them have been numbers. I realized, when it's this and when it's that.
But can I ask a question? So when you've gotten that thing that you think is going to make you happy, were you happier?
No. And it sounds almost cliche to say it's an inside job, but it so is. And I mean that in such a deeper sense than just, you got to say some nice things to yourself. It's actually going deep.
Yeah,
it's
deeper
going
than
deep.
we think.
Yeah, it's and like you said, even going through those bits that felt uncomfortable, that we run away from, that we don't like about ourselves, even sitting with that.
Yeah, it's it's finding the comfort in the discomfort. I used to always run away from that.
Yeah, me too.
I used to put that under the rug, deal with it.
Yeah.
Later, and never deal with it until then.
Yeah, till you have to deal with it.
Yeah, so I now, whatever happens, I'm very much confrontational. I'm like, okay, bring it.
And there's nothing wrong with being confrontational. It's it's so good to get yourself, because confrontational always felt negative, right?
No, but it's honesty.
But it's honesty. Yeah, you're so right.
It is, isn't it? It's people I know have said, oh, you're so confrontational, Georgia, and and I'm not like that. I don't, and I said, am I confrontational or am I just honest? And I just say, whether and honesty sometimes is hard to hear. But that's where we're going to grow. We're not going to grow with people going, oh, there. We're going to grow when people go, you know what, do better. And you go, okay, we want that. And I'm a big believer in being honest. Just be honest with me. Tell me the truth. Tell me the truth. I can handle the truth. What I can't handle is lying. And lying to yourself, that's the worst kind of lie. And we do it all the time. We lie to ourselves.
Yeah, that is so powerful. That is so powerful, because I think what the whole thing about that thing that you said about being uncomfortable, because we've been so conditioned that you don't want to be in an uncomfortable place, that we don't actually, it's almost like we don't make amends with those pieces of us that feel fractured, that feel so sensitive, and you're like, I don't know why I just absolutely lost it there, but I did, but I'm just going to carry on. But until you find out what's underneath it, like that neck pain being actually at the bottom of your back, until you actually realize where that comes from, your central nervous system is always going to feel like, why did I just lose it? And you never know. You literally go through life going, I don't know why I got so upset about that. Somebody didn't call you or retracted, and you made it feel like some kind of abandonment.
Yeah.
And you're like, gosh, I really, and until you,
and then you blame them.
Yeah.
And then you're like, actually, why?
Why has that made me feel so upset?
It normally has nothing to do with anything external. I'll give you an example, so you're on a plane, and there's a problem, because this happened to me recently. So I was on the plane, and there was a technical issue, and so we were going to be delayed for an hour and a half, and we had to sit on the plane, and you had everyone going and screaming and whatever, and I was like, well, yeah, I'm upset too, because I want to get home, but it's not going to change. And so I took that moment. There was, the cutest little girl over there. So I took that moment to find out what that little girl, because now we didn't have to have our seatbelts on because they had to fix whatever was going on underneath the plane. And so I took that time while Mary over here was, no, I need to be, I am, I was having the best time with, the little girl over there we had so much fun. She told me about how her mum tells her that there are monsters if she doesn't sleep.
Oh, gosh.
And then I was like, well, we've got to sleep. Because if we don't sleep, those monsters will come. Only thinking to myself, oh, my God, I'm going to put a Korean mask on. So she may look at me and think I am the monster. But anyway, that's okay. Because if that happens, I will be the cute monster who's the huggy monster or whatever. But, I had this whole thing. And then they said, put your seatbelts. And I was like, I was having such a good time. And the time went like that.
You changed that moment.
So it's up to us. And, she lost a couple of years of her life stressing. Good so old Mary. True. I don't know if her name's Mary.
I actually think as well, that's a really good, in terms of, we started with obviously this whole thing about beauty industry and, the fact that being on television or on movies, your beauty was wrapped up in so many things that you thought that was beautiful. That actually, when you can get to a place where you decide, where you choose what you believe to be true, because we can all narrate our own, this story of this life. And once you realize that you have the power to reframe anything in your life, I could be like, okay, the plane hasn't left. I'm going to be late. This always happens to me every single time. Gatwick is the worst. Yeah. Anyway, so you could go down that and go into a spiral, or you can find a little moment that you now look back at and go, wasn't that such the sweetest thing? And I think that is actually the key to feeling vibrant, feeling alive, and for having that glow. You can't even buy that glow. That is a glow that comes from within, when you live on that level.
Yeah. And then, it will make other people smile, and then they may want to get involved, and it's all of that. The thing with acting, what I learned over time, when you get loads of rejections, you realize that it's actually not even about you. Every job you go for, they already know what they're looking for. And so when you walk in, they know whether you're right or wrong. Now, they're not going, I don't like you, Georgia. They're saying, you're not right for what we're looking for. But that has nothing to do with me as Georgia. It just has that I'm not the right fit for that. But in that time, I would have gone and had fun. So the more jobs I got was when I would walk in and just go, I'm going to do my best. And if I'm right, I'll get the job. And if I'm not right, whoever got the job, I wish them well. And I made so many friends. I had memorable auditions and people remembered those because I went in and had fun. Whether I got the job, that was just a bonus, but that wasn't the be all and end all.
Absolutely.
So that's how, if we can look at life like that, then we get more energy, then we feel more connected. So when we are on our deathbed, we can say we had a life well lived rather than a life full of regrets.
Yeah.
I don't want to regret anything anymore.
Yeah. 100%. 100%. I think that's such a good analogy. Anytime that you're feeling this moment of, the pressure of getting that job in the job interview, or, whatever it is that we've put that we have to have, that if you let go of what it needs to be and just go, if that's not the right fit, it's just not going to be the right fit. That's it. There's no implication of I did it wrong, they did it wrong. No, it's not what the right fit is. But the right fit, when it comes, boy, that's going to feel good.
Yeah.
It's going to feel so good because it's going to be me in my element.
Yeah.
And when you hear that, oh, she's in her element. Yeah. That's what it is.
Yeah.
When you're in your element, you're in you.
Yeah.
You're doing you.
And you're not you're not even questioning it because you're in it.
Yeah.
It's like if you're riding a wave. I don't surf, but I'm imagining.
Yeah.
If, you know, because I watch surfers.
Yeah.
And when they are riding that wave, it's almost like
Yeah.
they're not, they're, and there is a philosophy, a good friend of mine's a surfer, and the reason why it's so addictive is because it's just you're 100% in the moment. You let go of, you know, you're not even thinking of, am I going to stay on the board? You're just going with it. And there's a flow that happens with that you can't even explain. And isn't that the feeling we all want with everything?
Yes.
But we can do that. We can choose to do
create
that in life.
for our own life. We can be that surfer on the board in our own life.
Yeah.
100%.
We can.
I love that. Oh my God, this has been, what a beautiful conversation to have on a Wednesday, isn't it? Oh my God. I'm like, what am I going to do today? It's been an absolute pleasure.
Oh, it was so
honestly,
lovely chatting with you.
I really feel like we're just like in the living room right now, having this like chat about life. Tell me, as a kind of closing tradition, tell me like one gift of hindsight or experience that you would either give your younger self or to our listeners.
Ooh, a hindsight is that, that's a good question. Of all the things I've learned is it'll be okay. It'll all work out in the end. So just go out there and just live every moment. That's it. That's what I would say. And that's what I say to my daughter. Just go out there. And whatever happens, we don't know. Just go out there. Just give it your all. And whatever's meant to be will be.
That's so it. Beautiful. What a final thought to, oh my God, that is such a beautiful final thought. It really is. It's so simple. It's so simple. The most profound things in our life are the most simplest things.
But we complicate them,
They
don't
really
we?
are. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
You have been an absolute pleasure. Oh my goodness, what an episode. Thank you so much for tuning in to Feel It in Your Soul. Every story you hear is a reminder that you're not stuck. It's never too late. And we can reframe every element of our life to work for us. If you want to go deeper, check out my meditations, workshops, and more at feelitinyoursoul.com. Oh, and please do not forget, subscribe. Just hit the subscribe button. And of course, leave me a message. I read every single one. Until next time, feel it in your soul.